Welcome, and thanks for taking a tour of CA ARCserve Unified Data Protection, the first solution to combine industry-proven backup, replication, high availability, and true global deduplication technologies within one unified solution. Let's begin this tour by authenticating into the Unified Data Protection console. This is easily done by inputting the username and password information. Once authenticated in, you will have a welcome console which gives you a series of wizards which will allow you to begin protecting your nodes right away. So as you can see here, you're presented with three panes or three capabilities that you can do. One of them is to add nodes that you'd like to protect. One of them is to choose a destination or a disk target where you'd like the nodes to be backed up to. And the other is to create a plan which you can associate with the nodes, which will help you manage, replicate, or even create virtual standby tasks associated with the nodes that you're protecting. You also will notice on the bottom that you have the ability, if you don't want to choose this wizard going forward, you can just select that box and it will not appear the next time you authenticate into the console. So we'll close this, and it'll immediately you have visibility into a number of tabs in which you can view the dashboard, resources, reports, logs, configuration details, or a tab associated with our ARCserve high availability product. You also notice that by default the product, you have visibility into all jobs, but you have the ability to filter out jobs by specific time frames. So you can see here that we can view last 24 hours, last 7 days, or even a custom time frame. So in that time frame, we're viewing the last 60 minutes, but you can do the last X number of hours or X number of days, or you can choose a calendar view where you could select this and you could say, I would like to initiate job historical information during a specific calendar event. And you can see here that you can click going forward and you can choose a specific calendar date, or you can default to today. You'll also notice that you can filter the jobs. So you view all the jobs that have recently been completed, all the jobs that might have failed, canceled jobs, or even jobs in progress. So if you view jobs in progress, you can get more detailed information in regards to the environment. If I select the job that's been taking place, so in this case we're looking at an incremental job that was run on the 16th, we select it and we can get even more details on the pane on the right, where we can view the job ID number, the node name, the task, in this case it was a backup incremental job, the destination, the data store, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and we can even click on here and get more advanced log information associated with this task. Next, we're going to view the Resources tab in the Unified Data Protection console. It has the same look and feel, information on the left, information on the center, and more detailed information on the right. So you'll notice that in the RPS-R node, we have detailed information and status of the node. So you can see here, it gives you information in regards to the last backup, virtual standby information, and other recent events as well. So if you wanted to view the log information on the system, you could select logs here, and it would give you all of the log information with the associated RPS server. If you wanted to get that information on another system, you could select it. You can see that there's an exclamation point here that indicates some sort of problem. The problem looks like there's some sort of heartbeat status issue. So again, you have this information which allows you to proactively troubleshoot the environment and make sure that your environment is optimized. Also within the environment, you can view all of the vCenter ESX server groups. So in this case, we have a vSphere server called vSphere. We have if there's a proxy server that's been configured, you can see the name of the proxy server. If there's any D2D for Linux backup servers that you're utilizing, you can see that this is where you'd view that information of that node. So in this case, there is one. It's been identified by its IP address, 192.168.1.20. which is the D2D for Linux server. You also can view information in regards to the plan. So here there's a couple plan groups and associated modules of those plan groups, or specific nodes of those plan groups, I should say. If you wanted to get more detailed information in regards to virtual standby, here is where you can view all the details, and get greater detailed information on those, as well as the unified data protection resources protect to a specific RPS server. Here is where you can view all of this RPS servers that have been configured. So you'll notice that we have 3 of them. Each of them, it tells you the amount of data that's being protected, the plans that have been associated with those RPS servers, the data deduplication, compression, and overall data reduction percentage. And finally, you can view all of the plans. You can see here that we have 3 plans, and you can view all of the relevant information in regards to those plans. So let's go back to the node area, and let's show you how to add nodes. So you can see there we have several nodes in the environment. If we wanted to add a node, here is where you could choose the level of specificity in regards to the nodes. So you can see here we have adding a Windows node. If you wanted to add a Linux node to protect, here is where you would do that. If you wanted to add a D2D for Linux backup server, this is where you would identify that, and as well as different, if you wanted to discover nodes via Active Directory, import nodes from a file, import nodes from vCenter or ESX. If you're a Microsoft virtualization shop, you could import the information from Hyper-V, or if you're utilizing ARCserve high availability, you could import the information from there as well. So let's select the Windows node and give the name of the server. In this case, it's Exchange. We'll give it a description. We'll say it's a 2012 server R2. If the system is being protected by ARCserve backup, so it's a traditional tape-based product, you like the idea of eventually getting the data on tape in a convenient process, we could identify that here, and then our ARCserve backup product would allow you to perform those backup processes. And now we're going to continue on the Resources tab and discuss the recovery point servers. The recovery point servers are basically a disk target for the nodes that you've chosen to protect. You'll notice that you have navigationally it's the same. You have your left-hand pane, you have your center pane where most of your actions occur, and on the right you have more detailed information. So we've selected this data store that resides on this rps.ca.local, and you can see here you can get more information in regards to the destination and other information in regards to hash and other details, which we'll talk about in a little bit. If I wanted to perform a specific action, there's a tab here, and here's where I can browse to specific recovery points on that data store, make modifications to it, delete it, stop it, or perform a jump start, an offline synchronization method. If I wanted to perform an action on an RPS server, I can select the server, in this case the rps.ca.local, and this is where I can hit the refresh, update the view, update this recovery point server itself. Again, I can remove the recovery point server. I can add a data store, import a data store, or perform an installation or an upgrade on the recovery point server. To add a recovery point server, I would just click on the tab to the right of the Actions button, and here is where I would need to complete a number of account settings which would allow me to add this process. So we're going to go ahead. You can give the node that you've identified as your recovery point center, you can give it a unique name or an IP address. So we'll go ahead and we'll choose MSP, or actually it's rps.msp. You would need to input the username and the password, as well as give it a description. So we're going to call this MSP target. Below that, there's some installation information. The installation location, by default, you can see it's chosen here. The port, 8014, the protocol, HTTP or HTTPS. If you wanted to leave the default of the change tracking driver, you would select this, or you could turn this off, as well as when you would like this action to be performed. So when would you like to run and reboot immediately? Would you like to run and reboot at a specified time? So you're saying you could choose a specific time to perform this action. So maybe you wanted this action to occur on a Sunday where it's less busy. You could choose this on and maybe wanted to occur at 2:07 a.m. This is where that could be configured. Or you could choose the bottom, which is just run immediately and then reboot manually at a later time. For the purposes of the demonstration, typically I just like to leave it as the default options. You can choose to save this, cancel, or hit help if you need to get any other information. So once what's inputted, you can see here that the rps.msp resides right here. You can see that the recovery point server from the detailed pane on the right has been successfully deployed. The next step in the process is you need to configure a data store. So we would click the rps.msp server that we just added. Under the Actions button, we would click Add a Data Store. We would give the data store a unique name, so let's just call it MSP. And then you need to browse or navigate to a couple of folders to be the destination of your data. So first thing we need to do is browse and choose, we plus it out, and we're going to choose the UDP directory, which I've configured already, and then we'll choose the destination directory. You can turn on or off standard compression if you're concerned about disk savings. We also allow you to change various elements, so you can do no compression or maximum compression. If you want to limit the number of concurrent active nodes, by default it's set to 20. If you wanted to turn it off and put no limit, you could do that, or if you wanted to change this variable, so you could say, you know what, let's make it 25. If you wanted to encrypt the data, so you're concerned about data security, you could turn on this feature. When this feature is turned on, this is where you would provide the encryption password, and you need to confirm the encryption password. Deduplication is turned on by default. If you only wanted, basically the deduplication is a process where only the unique data is written to disk. It's a very efficient way to utilize disk space. Here is where that feature would be turned on. When that feature is turned on, again, you would need to navigate to specific directories. So we're going to go ahead and expand, and first thing we're going to do is identify the data destination directory. We'll go into that UDP and we'll choose the data destination here. Next thing we need to do is we need to browse to the index. Navigate down to the index folder that I've created, as well as the hash. Same process. Navigate to the hash. Click OK. Now, if you are lucky enough to be utilizing solid-state drives, you could identify that here. You also have the ability to change your hash memory allocation and your deduplication block size. And based upon the data that you've input here, you can estimate your memory and your storage requirements. We give you a nice tool that you can see the estimated data size of the data to be stored, the estimated percentage of the data that can be duplicated, the estimated percentage of the data to be compressed, and other elements. A really nice tool for planning purposes. So once we've done the configuration, we click Save. We turn the encryption off there. Click Save. It's going to save, and then we are going to have a data store which is added to this RPS-MSP recovery point server that I've just created. The next element we're going to look at is the plans, where it all comes together. So we previously talked about nodes and adding nodes. We've talked about destinations and how you can configure recovery point servers to make it a disk destination for the multiple nodes you'd like to plan or you'd like to protect. And then you add a plan to make it all come together. So you'll notice same navigational, you have the details on the left, you have the center pane where all the actions occur, and then the right hand pane is where you get more detailed information. We've selected a plan already. We have a number of plans configured. We have a jumpstart plan, a test plan, and a vSphere plan. We've selected the jumpstart, the test plan, and when we select it, you can see on the right we get some more detailed information. So we can see that it's a Windows-based backup is task number 1. We can expand and see the other information in regards to task 2 is the replicate. Task 3 is virtual standby, and then some product installation information as well. Actions that you can perform on the plans, you can refresh them, you can make modifications to an existing plan, you can copy an existing plan if you wanted to have it utilize it as a template, delete it, deploy it now, or even pause the plan. If you wanted to add a plan or you wanted to make a new plan for your environment, it's very easy to do. You click the Add Plan button. You would give the plan a unique name, so let's just call it the demo plan. And then you need to choose the task that you'd like to perform. So you can, as I showed you earlier, you can have a number of tasks associated with the plan. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a Windows-based backup. When you do that, you need to go in and identify the Windows-based systems that you'd like to protect. So we're going to click on the Add Nodes button. You're presented with all of the nodes that are available to be protected. So you can select any and all of the nodes. So we will select the manager here as well as the production system and add them to the environment, and we will click OK. Once that's done, you need to choose a destination, a disk destination. So you are presented with two options. You can choose to protect to a local disk or a shared folder. More commonly, you would choose to back up to a UDP recovery point server. So once I've changed that selection, I need to identify the recovery point server that I'd like to utilize. So in this case, let's go ahead and select that recovery point server that we've previously configured. Let's select the MSP data store that we've configured, and then we need to, for security purposes, we need to add a session password and confirm it. Once we've configured that, we need to attach a schedule. So here's where you can have different details in regards to your backup schedule, your merge schedule, your throttle schedule. You can choose the scheduled start time. So typically you wouldn't want it to occur during business hours. So maybe you'd say, you know what, I want this to start tonight at 6 a.m. or something along those lines. You can make that change. And then you need to designate the number of recovery points. So you can see here you can put in a number for your recovery point details. The final pane you would need to configure is the advanced settings. So here is where if you have SQL or Exchange servers, you could truncate the data. You could run commands before the backup is started. You can run a command after the snapshot is taken, run a command after the backup is over, or you can even enable email alerts. And when that's configured, you would need to put, notify me of X variable. So notify me if of a missed job or new updates or whatever the information you're looking for. So once you've configured all this detail, you would just save the plan, and you would be off and running in regards to data protection. So next we're going to look in the resources pane the ability to restore. So we've talked previously about adding a node, we've talked about adding a destination or the recovery point server, and we've talked about adding a plan. So the final process in a demonstration is to show how you recover data that's been protected by that plan. So typically a demonstration to perform that action was you would go to a server that you're protecting, so in this case the production server, and you would perform an action which is to restore data. Before I do that, typically what I like to do is go to the server that's being protected, which in this case is the production server, go into the folder and delete something, delete a document that we protected with the backup job. So I've done that. We'll minimize this. We'll go back to the manager. We will choose the production server. The action we're going to perform is we're going to choose restore. So in a minute a dialog box will appear. We have the ability to restore from a recovery point. We can browse for file copies, find files or folders to restore. You can select an entire virtual machine to restore, or if enabled you have the ability to browse the recovery point and have message level or granular restoration of Exchange mail. We're going to choose to browse to a recovery point, and we are going to choose a recovery point that was taken today at 4:55. We're going to expand it out. We're going to mount the C volume here. Give it a minute for that to take place. When that's done, what we're going to do is we are going to look for the directory where that file that I deleted occurred, which is under the UDP, demo, and there's that document. So we'll click next. We're going to go ahead and we're going to restore to the original location. You can choose to restore to an alternate location if you wish, and you would just select that and browse there. You also have the ability to designate what you want to do in the event of conflicts. Do you want to override existing files, skip existing files, or rename them? You can then, if there's any type of backup encryption or password protection, you can put the password in there. We'll click next, and we'll go ahead and we'll submit the restoration job. So the restoration action takes place. It typically is very fast occurrence. The job is going to run. When the job is concluded, we'll go back to the production server and see if the file is there. So while that action is going on, let's go back over here to the Unified Data Protection Console, and let's look at a few other items that you might want to include in your demonstration. First of all, there's the recording function. The reporting function allows you can plus or expand out different features. So from an alert, you have a number of pre-configured reports. So here we have alerting reports, so you can see there's been some deployment issues. You could click on a specific report and you can get more detailed information. If you wanted to get data trend information, so you could see here backup size data trend analysis, and you can choose it by specific parameters, weekly, monthly, or even a custom parameter which you could input. So you could say, you know what, let's change this to 14 days and apply. You can get more detailed reporting on your backups. So your node backup report, it's all presented to you. So you can see your nice pie chart. Your report on how you protected your virtual machines. You can see here we have some red and some green. Red, as we all know, indicates some sort of error. We can click on that and we can get more detailed information on that as well. Managed capacity, this is just a method of, you can see based upon the capacity range you've chosen, get detailed reporting on that, or a distribution of data on specific media. From a log perspective, if you want to get more detailed log information, you can filter by different severity types, all, informational, warning. You can choose time frames. Maybe you wanted to get one in the last 24 hours. You can choose specific node names, generated messages, and then you can get more detailed information. So let's say we've chosen warnings in the last 24 hours. We're going to go in We're going to see here that there's a warning here. They're on a virtual machine that's powered off, and we can get more detailed information. Finally, there's configuration settings. So here is where you can get methods in regards to, database configuration, storage resource management configuration details, ARCserve backup synchronization. So if you're integrated this with our ARCserve backup traditional tape-based backup product, you could get detailed information on that. If you wanted to receive email alerts, here's where you could turn on that option, and you would configure services as such. We do have integration with our high availability product. If you wanted to configure it as such and have application high availability, you would have that capability. So let's go back here to the resources tab. Let's take a look. It looks like the restoration job was successful. So we're going to go over here to the production machine. We are going to go into the local disk, UDP directory, demo. There is that demo 100.
As you can see, we have had a successful recovery of the file. With that success, that brings us to the conclusion of our tour of the CA ARCserve Unified Data Protection Solution. For more detailed information, please review the content on arcserve.com or contact or even chat with a sales representative. And remember, CA ARCserve UDP is assured recovery.